In his first comments on the unrest, President Muhammadu Buhari didn't mention the shootings that sparked international outrage. Instead, he warned protesters against being used by subversive elements.
The sound of rapid gunfire still rings in the ears of many Nigerians. And more footage of Tuesday night's shootings is becoming public. Since then, tempers haven't calmed. Gunfire rang out again in Nigeria's biggest city on Thursday. A prison was set ablaze and police stations were attacked. Elsewhere, angry crowds looted shops in cities across the country. In his first comments on the current unrest, the president called for an end to demonstrations.
I therefore call on our youth to discontinue the street protests and constructively engage government in finding solutions. Your voice has been heard loud and clear, and we are responding.
In further comments, Buhari said he was saddened that innocent lives had been lost, but he didn't mention the shootings, nor who was responsible for them.
Of the youth of our country.
Amnesty International says it was soldiers and police who fatally shot at protesters at Lekki Tollgate.
Shooting, that is why they disconnected.
Eyewitnesses and a DW News team reported seeing people in camouflage clothes enter the area before shots were fired.
Soldiers came, shooting at peaceful protesters. They are here, live at Tollgate.
The army has denied that soldiers were responsible. The scars of the violence are still highly visible, and there's no sign that public outrage is fading. On Friday morning, gangs armed with knives and sticks blocked major roads in Lagos, angry over the president's appeal to end demonstrations. There is also widespread criticism of the president's failure to address allegations that security forces were behind the shootings. In the eyes of many Nigerians, Buhari's speech was tone-deaf and proof of the need for reform in the country he leads.
Nigeria's anti-SARS campaign began on social media, where it triggered an outpouring earlier this month from people who said they'd experienced violence at the hands of the police's special anti-robbery squad. By October 11th, the government announced it was being replaced by a SWAT unit, standing for Special Weapons and Tactics. The promise was that it would be ethical and investigate police abuses. And my guest today is Adebowale. He is a supporter of the End SARS protest. Welcome to DW News Africa, Adebowale. So where do things stand now with the protests?
Right now, I think the protests have officially been called off. The End SARS protests have been called off the streets, so people have been advised to stay off the streets to obey the laws and to observe the curfew the government has put in place in the meantime, because we've already lost some lives, we've already lost some property around Lagos and around the country, Nigeria in general. So everyone just wants to be safe.
All right. So in his speech, President Buhari called on the youth to discontinue the street protests, and he said to constructively engage the government to find the solutions. Do you think that needs to be given consideration?
If I'm to be reasonable, I would say yes. We have to be able to dialogue with the leaders of our country. We have to be able to all come to the table. So be it the youth, be it the government representatives, be it anybody. I think this is the time. We already have the attention of the government. We already have the attention of the global community. So I personally believe the next step should be dialogue, reconciliation, and we should have a plan of action for justice and for the people that were killed in the massacre.
Right. So this plan of action, right, where would it come from? Because it's not very clear who's coordinating these protests or this movement, as some people like to call it.
No, the plan of action has to come from the government. But the government has to carry the people along. And the government has to be convincing in what they say to carry the people along. You can't tell us you've ended SARS and in the next 2 days or so, you announce SWAT. You just rebranded the problem.
Okay.
And people see and understand that. So what people are looking for is a reasonable timeline of change, a plan of action for change that the people, the citizenry, can be carried along in.
Right, right. So I assume by what you're saying that you believe you're still waiting for that. Right now, from what I understand from your first answer, the protests have been suspended because of the curfews that have been put in place. Will we see people back on the streets at some point?
Personally, I don't know for now. I'm not sure. But I can tell from just seeing what's going on around on social media, tensions are high. People feel disappointed. People feel let down by the government or the president's speech. So I think I'm just calling on everyone to just sort of calm down the tension. Let everyone just relax a little bit.
We've got about 30 seconds on the clock, but one other thing the president talks about yesterday is he referred to agitators who he said had hijacked and misdirected the protest movement. Who might those agitators be, and what are they in it for?
Okay, so in Nigeria, especially in the city of Lagos, we have a culture of using thugs to disrupt events, whether it be elections, whether it be peaceful protests, whether it be anything. It's a culture, and it's been going on for so long. We all know anti-SARS was never meant to be a violent protest. People were singing, dancing in the streets, marching, waving national flags, singing the national anthem, sensitizing people on the need to vote, to get their PVCs, and to get ready for elections. Nobody's interested in burning down buildings, in looting any. We are just young Nigerians that want security. Finish. That's it.
Okay. Adebowale, thank you so much for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.